Good morning, everybody. I'm heading into the office, but I wanted to take this opportunity to, not a rebuttal, but to share my own experience with my BMW's assisted driving. Marquez Brownlee did a video where he went through the S tier of um, auto assist, and he used, I believe it was 5 different companies. He had Mercedes, he had Tesla, he had BMW. Uh, he had a couple of others. I don't recall all of them off the top of my head, but he went through his S tier list. And one of the issues that he said he had with BMW is the touch control. Or the wake up control. There's a lot of different euphemisms or names that they use for this, but what I'm referring to is whenever you have assisted uh, driving on, that what happens is the car will drive itself pretty much, and there's varying degrees of how well it does and performs there. But based on a set amount of time, you have to engage with the vehicle to prove and ensure that you are in control of the vehicle or that you can take control of the vehicle. In the BMW, for example, it requires a touch on the steering wheel every so often. What that means is that while it's in assisted drive mode, the car will basically, for lack of a better term, drive itself. I'm very careful not to say that it's autonomous because, as you may or may not know, there's every car on the market for the most part, including the ones in the list, Mercedes, GM, BMW, even Tesla, they all are level 2 driving, meaning there has to be some driver interaction with the vehicle for it to continue driving autonomously. So that means that there has to be a touch, or in some cases I don't know if it's still the same case with the Cadillac, but with my Cadillac, which had autonomous, wasn't as good as this one, but it was good. Well, it was equal but different. It engaged the eyes. So two things are going on with the BMW, and I'll show you this maybe when it may show up and may not. Sometimes it shows up on camera. But the first thing is that there are a set of infrared cameras or lenses, cameras on the actual display, right? So as you look at the info display, there you might see two pinkish red magenta lights flash back at the camera. So what those are is those are actually looking for the driver's eyes. So that's number one. If it doesn't detect that their driver's eyes are engaged and looking forward for X amount of time, it will not engage the auto assist, the driving assist mode. Once that is there and you engage the driver assist, what happens next is that you will be forced to, again, once it takes over, it will drive. And with BMW, it is pretty short. I know with Tesla and others, my experience with them or my knowledge of them is that it's longer. But with BMW, it's a pretty short time between when you have to engage the steering wheel or not. So, all of that said, Marquez went through that, did a wonderful job of explaining everything. But I saw on his BMW, based on the one vehicle he was in, I don't know what model, I don't know what year, I'm guessing it was a 24, maybe even a 25 that he was driving. But he said that he had to, it really took more engagement than the other cars, and that you actually had to almost squeeze or twist the steering wheel for it to recognize the level of engagement. So I am challenging that a bit, and not so much that that's not his experience, because he did document it, he showed it in the vehicle, but that I don't know if that's the normal experience. So two caveats there. One, again, his car, every car is calibrated differently, so it could be his individual vehicle was doing that, number one. Number two, my Beamer, my 8 Series, is a 2019. So as a 2019 vehicle, that ships in the 2020 model in a calendar year, or 2018 calendar year, the driver assist could have been tweaked differently by BMW. They may have wanted more interaction than I have. So my experience has been quite the opposite, where it requires a light touch. Now, having said that, there are some compromise factors that can cause more engagement than usual. Number one, the steering wheel itself, because as I use a lot of lotion, because in African American parlance, it is bad to be ashy. So I typically use lotion most of the time. I have learned over the last 5 or 6 years not to use, or 3 to 4 years, not to use lotion while I'm driving, because it can, cake up on the steering wheel, which comes to my other point. If the steering wheel has a lot of oil residue, which means that no lotion, just oil from your hands and or lotion compounding that onto your steering wheel, it can cause a glaze on your steering wheel, where if you ever look at your leather or leatherette steering wheel and it has a lot of gunk, let's say it a different way, it has a lot of shine to it. It's very shiny. It should not be shiny. It actually, in most cases, it should be a matte finish. So if you see that, that means that you need to clean your steering wheel so that you get that. And the reason that that is important is so that you have better grip, okay, with the contact surface. All of that said, if those things are there, apparent, if those issues show up, then yes, it can engage and cause it. But I've never had it happen where I was in a situation where I was having to squeeze or twist the steering wheel to get that level of engagement. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip the camera around. So I'll pause here, flip the camera around, and I'll show you what it looks like and what my experience is, and with that level of engagement. So that part will probably be much shorter than all of this explanation that I just rambled on with. So I'll pause here and we'll cut to that. Okay, so as you can see my cockpit layout, and first thing I'm going to do is you have to of course make sure that your assistant is on, which it is, and I'm going to engage this. Let me get out of this lane so that I can do this. And just for all of you speed peepers out there, I am adhering to the speed limit. I am in a 70 mile an hour. I'm on the highway. It's 70 miles an hour, so just so that we can get that out the way. But here's what I'm going to do. So now that I'm in a lane where I won't get run over for going at speed limit, and oh, by the way, I'll throw that in there. Anytime that you're driving, you should be adhering to the speed limit that is posted, or you could be sanctioned by your local or state authorities, traffic enforcement. So please make sure that you are doing so. So with that said, what I'm going to do is engage it. So now if you look, it's engaged. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You can see that it's engaged, and it's following the follow distance of the car ahead of me, and I have a pretty close follow distance. But as you see, it's actually braking like it's supposed to, right? And you can see what speed I have it set to, right? So I'm going to take my hands off the steering wheel. So I have one on the camera and one on the one in the air, and you see that the steering wheel is glowing, went from green to yellow, and it will beep at me shortly, but it's navigating the lanes. One thing that it doesn't do the best job of, you heard that noise, that was it telling me. So what I did is, you can see here on this hand, I touched the steering wheel. That's it. Is that it does a great job of keeping it in lane, but it doesn't keep it completely square or center in the lane. So you do get a little bit of what they call pogoing, where it goes back and forth between the lanes. And that is another danger that you may have using assist, is that most of them use cameras that identify the lane. And in that way, when they identify the lane, if your lane markers are not visible for whatever reason, disrepair on your road, it could be a case where the camera can't pick it up. And so you should take over at that point, because your car doesn't know what the hell's going on. So as you can see, there's a lot of braking going on here because this is a pretty decent intersection. But again, my hands are here. That is yellow again. So I'm going to, again, wait. And this is a good opportunity to show you that what the car is doing on its own. And so now I touch the steering wheel, and there you go. So that wasn't a very long press. Let me go ahead and flip lanes because I need to go in the other direction. But that's my experience, guys, is that I haven't had the same level of issue that Marquez reported. For the most part, again, like this issue where there's construction going on, the lanes aren't as clearly defined, so it may wobble a little bit and you need to grab the wheel there. But otherwise, I use this quite often to go back and forth to work because I do have a pretty long drive, about 20-30 minutes into my office whenever I do go in. And I'm going in more frequently. So with that said, I have, I use it quite often. So is that one, you heard I was a little bit late. And so what happened here is it actually disengaged the assisted driving. And then now it picked it back up because my hands were on the steering wheel. So it is a safety feature. It wants to make sure you're there. And again, basically it just requires me to touch the steering wheel and it will take me to work. So this actually is good for me on a long drive, particularly when I'm driving out of town, because it keeps me fresher. My legs are fresher because I'm not constantly moving up and down. My hands are fresher because I'm actually doing other things. But one other thing I will mention is that I use this because it actually gives you slightly better gas mileage, because the computer in the car can maintain a speed and gas consumption, level of gas consumption that your foot can't, just making those little micro adjustments. So those typical reasons why I use it, but buyer beware, use it however you feel best. But yeah, this is my experience with it. I don't quite see the level of engagement that Marquez brought up. And when I do have that level of engagement, when I do have to do those things, that means that I need to clean my steering wheel. So that's a user-related error, not so much a system-related error. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang up here, quote unquote, so that I can get back to driving properly. But I did want to share my experience. Thanks, y'all, and thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.